What's up, everybody? So today I'm going to be breaking down a cue that had to be written on a very tight deadline for an NFL brief. So you guys know how we do it. First, we'll take a listen to it, and then we'll talk about it on a flip. All right, let's get to it. All right, so there it is. This particular cue is called Game Recognize Game. And basically, there was a brief that came in on a Wednesday night. So saw it Thursday morning, and it was due Friday at noon. So yeah, pretty quick turnaround. And some of the basic things that the brief called for. So we got a ref or reference of the cue that they were trying to replace, and it was a rock cue. And so the brief said that the only thing that they wanted to be similar about the reference that they gave us was the pacing and the fact that it had a key change in it. They didn't want it to be too busy. They wanted it to be loopable, so they didn't want like a long held out note on the end. And again, it was a rock cue, and since they said they wanted to be different, I figured I would go. Oh, and they did want some epic swagger to it as well. So I figured I would go kind of this route on it. Just to try to, switch things up a bit, but you never know with these things. So that's kind of what I came up with. The tempo is 82 beats per minute, so right around the tempo that the other cue was. This particular cue, I start in A flat minor, and then I modulate to A minor. So I think that's, some of the basics in terms of what we want to do. So let's kind of get inside of it. And talk about it a bit. Okay, so one thing that you'll notice is that we really don't have a lot of tracks at all, maybe around 25. It says 38 of 139 are showing, but that's, counting everything that's showing. But yeah, probably got about, 20 tracks or something like that. So the basic motif, I wanted to try to keep this simple based upon, what the brief called for. So basically, I just have a real simple motif that is carried by my Brahms and by my bass. So it's just a simple bop, 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 this little 5-note motif. I mean, that's it. That's pretty much the basis, of the statement or whatever that I'm trying to get through. And again, I have this Brahm that is pretty simple. So it's just that, and it's just a Brahm one shot that I'm using. Put it in the sampler and just play it. through the sampler in Cubase. Then for bass, what are we using there? We're using a Sub Fatty in Sub XL for our bass, and so just something, trying to, just kind of a funky bass sound, not, typical 808 or anything like that. So that is pretty much the motif that we are, trying to carry through here. Other thing is drums. Pretty simple. You see, we don't have a lot going on. I do have a timpani just to give it a little epic kind of feel, and pretty scaled back in terms of our drums, but I'll play that groove for you. Right, and then so that one thing you hear that little kind of dirty kind of sound. That's in my hi-hat loop. So it just gives it a little vibe. And the only thing that you'll notice, the drums are pretty straightforward throughout. But as we kind of go through the cue, and when it gets to the modulation, the only layer that I add is a tambourine, just to kind of elevate it a little bit as it modulates. Excuse me. And then you'll notice that I use a tam tam as a transitional element to kind of get us into the modulation. So I'm just play that. And yeah, I mean, that is, pretty much where we are with it. So just keeping it simple, just keeping it locked, keeping it with some good pacing, etc. So, and then also what I utilize to help us with the pacing and the drums, just to jump back to the drums very quickly, just a bunch of one shots, guys, and probably things that I've shown you before, but nothing, a kick one shot, that I'm using, and I pretty much treat my kick the same way. You see we have it low passed and high passed here. So we got a high pass at 60, low pass around 1200 or something like that. I think you guys probably know by now that I really do like to use the CLA2A compressor for my kick, and then I typically have it sidechain to my bass. That's it, trap snare, which is just like a rim, and I think it's probably I am a music mogul sample. I'm not really sure. No, just a rim, just a rim one shot, I guess. That oh no, it is from I Am a Music Mogul. So yeah, from one of the I Am a Music Mogul kits, just a rim that I like, a hi-hat loop. Like I said, that's just a loop that I found. It was at 150, and of course we sped it up to 164, but it's 82, really 82 beats per minute there, and that I already played for you. A cymbal one shot and a clap, and then the tambourine, I believe it's just a loop that I found that I like. Yeah. So it's a tambourine loop, and it's pretty close to the tempo. So nothing really deep there. Okay, so now in terms of continuing to keep our pacing, I have this synth from Omnisphere that I'm using. And let me get that for you. So it is called End of Worldliness. Is the name of the synth, and it's just doing, again, helping us keep the pacing. And then it helps us with the chord support as well. Those are the only chords that I'm pretty much using in the whole cue. And I put the chords in there to help give it that kind of epic kind of feel to it. So again, it's in A flat minor. And then what I'm doing is I'm using the 6 major down to the 4 major. So, we're in A flat minor, right? And then I go to the 6 major, which is E major, and then I go to D flat major. And then we're back to the groove. I mean, that's pretty much the whole thing that's happening there. And again, I use that for support. So if we play those brass stabs with the Brahm, we get this. Right? So we get that. Now, so what we, of course, if you want, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, you can't have epic without some horns. That's just me. I just love horns. And I love using horns in my cues. So what we do is we add just a little horn motif just to give it a little more kind of epic vibe. And it's just a little like a little 6-note motif. Ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da, just a little 6-note motif just to give it a little more epic flavor. So we get this. Just that, ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da, just to give it a little vibe there. I'm using my Cinebrass horn ensemble there. I'm not changing anything. Full mix is still on, whatever. And then I just layer it with some shorts just to help it define a little more. That's it. This, like I said, guys, this is it's pretty simple, but hopefully it's capturing those elements that were called for in the brief, and the whole point being that you need to be able to at times to put something together like this in a very short period of time. You're always going to have 3 days or whatever. You got to be able to turn these cues around relatively quickly at times. So we have that. Now the thing that I did do is I decided to keep some distorted guitar in the cue just to help support the melody a little bit, but to lean back to some of that rock, swag, say, that the other cue had. So this is just a hint, really, at it. I mean, it's not rock at all, but it's just a hint for me, just to, kind of hint at the rock thing or whatever. So what I have my guitars doing is this. And it's just to kind of, lean, like I said, to that rock feel a little bit. And what I have is I'm using this Driving the Bassett patch, out of Omnisphere. And then you see, kind of have EQ'd. I have some reverb that I'm using as a send, and then that I am using the CLA guitar, which I absolutely love. I got the crunch on re-amplify, and then you see I'm using the edge in terms of the delay. And with my other guitar, pretty much the same, except I have a stereo delay on that one, which is that is my guitar that's on the right. So if I just play that one, and you see I just have a 16th, and then on this side I'm going totally dry on the right, but on the left I have a 16th with my feedback at about 43 and dry, just to give the left and right just a little different feel and space, so they're not hitting exactly the same. All right, so that's what we have there. So again, that gives us a little bit of rock swag. And then the other thing that I have, I got my strings that are just doing a little simple counter line, and I got just some little runs, to help kind of with the epic vibe a little bit. So my strings are just this. Real simple. And if you notice, I have a really long delay on that violin run. You probably heard that, and it went for a pretty long while. But in the mix, it's pretty cool. So you see how I have it set here. I'll play that for you again so you can hear. So you just hear how the delay is there. And then for the other strings, I'm using the Metropolis Arc short strings. Let me get that up for you. Yeah. So I'm just using the string orchestra from Metropolis Arc 5. And I'm using those short strings, and they just right. Okay. And that is pretty much, I played the bass for you earlier. That is pretty much it in terms of everything. So in this A section, so we started off again, with the little swag. We bring in the horns with that little counter melody. Then the strings kind of answer that, and then we're into our push into the quick key change. And then when we get into the key change, the thing that you'll notice is I add in some other brass just to support the strings and to support the horns. So if we listen to this first little, or the last section of kind of A minor, A flat minor, getting us into A minor. So you hear that little, now we want to add just a little layer of support. So I'm using these Hollywood pop brass marcatos right here. And I really like this particular sound a lot. So it is, I'm using the Hollywood pop brass, crescendo, fat. You know, I just really like it. But they have a bunch of different articulations. They got licks, you know, just all kinds of stuff. So I played my stuff in, but they got licks already played, you know, and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty cool, excuse me, pretty cool library that I do like to use a lot. So we have that, and then here, so here they support your string, and that's the same thing that our strings are doing down here. So basically, they're just supporting the strings on that line. So just a little additional support. And then I think here they come in and support the horns. And it's just a little additional support. So if I play those horn, and then let me add the swells to it. So we got, this is the way it's going. So they have, you know, where you can do a sustain, you can do a swell, you know, whatever. So kind of adding that in to it, it makes it feel like one, you know, one group of brass playing together. And then if we add the horns, right, okay, so that's what we have there. Then, you know, after that we're into a breakdown because they said that they wanted, you know, a little tension or whatever, so we kind of break it down here. So a very short breakdown. Oh, because the other thing about this brief is that it called for the cue to be, you know, up to 1:30. So this more short. Typically, my sports cues are around 2 minutes. You know, maybe a little over, but this one they definitely want it, you know, not to be somewhere between 1 minute and 1.5 minutes. So this is a little shorter. So you see the breakdown is condensed. The sections are condensed. We're kind of getting, you know, getting through. So you got to be sensitive to those things as well, you know, when you're writing to a brief. So in the breakdown, nothing, you know, really super deep. We have that same bump, you know, that minor third motif there, but we cut it, you know, we don't do bump, we just bump, and then we take it up a half step, just mentally to just give it a little lip, and then we bring it right back, bump. Okay, so we have, in terms of what's happening there, we got the brass, the Brahm, doing that along with the bass. So they're doing that. Right. And then what we have answering, we have our Metropolis arc strings. And then we have our omni stabs kind of doing a da 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 da. That's it. And then I think a little timpani support just on the end, really just to get us into back into the theme. So a very short breakdown. You see our drums pretty much are still rocking in the breakdown. So just still going through, you know, not a big breakdown there, but you do feel the energy come back a little bit. what you'll notice now when we come back to the theme, we add that upper layer of brass on the bum bum bum, but not the whole, even though the motif is dun 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 dun, just to add a little support to the bum bum bum. We just add our high brass again with the Hollywood pop brass, you know, and then they still come in and support the horns on their section as well. So listen again. And if you notice, because again, they said didn't want a protracted ending, so I just have a real tight button on it, just bump. So the one thing that I will say, in terms of doing this brief, you know, sometimes when you're trying to do things quickly, you look back and be like, man, I could have done this or I could have done that. So one thing I think that I would have done differently in writing this cue, because they said they wanted it to be loopable, and it does end on the button. I think the one thing that I missed is I should have demodulated back to A minor to end it, so then if it does loop again, it loops right back starting in A minor. It's not going from A flat minor. I'm sorry, I should have went back down to A flat minor because I end in A minor. So I should have demodulated back down to A flat minor. So then when it loops back around, it would start in A flat minor, you know, and then go to A minor, etc. And the other cue, the reference did start in the key, modulated a few times in sections, but it ended in the original key. So I do think that's one thing that I did miss. You know, if I look back, you know, in hindsight is 2020. That's the one thing I think I would have done differently. So really with this, guys, is a real quick one today, but I just really wanted to show you kind of what you need to kind of be able to turn around and what it should sound like. So it turned out that our publisher, you know, picked a number of cues to send up to CBS for it. Now, I did not get it. I didn't get it, but it was a great experience, and I do believe that this cue, because it's still a quality cue, I still believe that this cue is still going to make air and still be used, you know, for something else. So again, just a quick look into, you know, kind of how these things work. Now, I will tell you this as well. They did give us some video and some audio to kind of work from and things of that nature. So I did have that to try to, you know, work with as well. I won't show that because I don't know if I'm allowed to. So I won't show that, but we did have some video and audio from the actual you know, NFL Today that we could utilize and, you know, put it. And you see, I have the video in my DAW. Oh, I guess you can't see because I'm on the screen. But if I go back here, you see that I do have the video here in my DAW, and I also have the audio from the actual broadcast in my DAW as well. And now we couldn't use, obviously they were like, just, hey, for a reference, but don't copy, you know, what's here. So it was totally different. It was a great experience. And we still got a good cue out of it, you know, at the end of the day. And I believe that that cue is going to work for us, you know, in the future, and hopefully do well for us. So I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you got some inspiration from it. Hope you got some knowledge from it. As always, thanks so much for stopping by to check me out. Peace and God bless.